Europe was covered by a wave of a terrible pandemic. Most of the population died, and the survivors began to live in small isolated settlements. Special forces regularly organized sweeps of those infected with the deadly virus. One day, the wife of one of the agents came under the gun. John would beg the commander not to kill Emily, but he was adamant. 3 years later, despite the fact that John left civilization and went to live in the forest, the nightmare of that terrible night continued to torment him. During the day, he did various household chores, harvested firewood and did all sorts of exercises to maintain physical fitness. And at night John read the famous treatise on military strategy, indulging in memories of his past. One day, sitting by the night fire, John again experiences the death of his beloved wife. It was necessary, the commander told him then. He didn't care about the death of one person if it could save millions of other lives. But John was sure that his wife was not infected, even the tests confirmed it. However, the stern military man said that he trusted only his intuition, and in that situation it was impossible to take risks. John Wood was of great interest to the military, because for unclear reasons he was immune to a deadly infection that killed millions of people. They were going to investigate him, bringing him under guard, but John managed to escape and overcome all the guards. Suddenly, a frightened blonde with a gunshot wound appears and asks to hide her, and then loses consciousness. The next morning, the girl wakes up and is very scared when she sees John. The man promises not to offend her and gives her a glass of alcohol for courage. The fact is that the wound has started to fester and he needs to get a bullet. But before that, the girl decides to introduce herself to a stranger by giving her name, Maria. With a precise and confident movement, John extracts a bullet with a working beacon from her body. After that, Maria faints from the pain, and he notices a mysterious barcode on her wrist. When the girl woke up, the former military man warned her that she would have to leave his house in 2 days, when the wound would heal a little, since he did not need any extra problems. The next morning, while John was sleeping, Maria dressed in his old clothes and decided to chop wood. Trying not to pay attention to the pain in her left side, the girl continued to work until John drove her into the house. Unexpectedly, 3 armed men appeared in his yard. They were looking for an infected fugitive, so they unceremoniously headed into the house. Using the surprise effect, John dealt harshly with 2 military men. At that time, a shot rang out in the building. Running to the sound, John was surprised to find that Maria had dealt with the soldier on her own, finding a shotgun under the bed. When the man hid the bodies of the mercenaries a little later, Maria tried to start a conversation with him, but the incredulous John forces the girl to wash the floor instead of talking. Wielding a mop, Maria accidentally injured her finger, and, having difficulty finding a first aid kit, is interested in a jar for tests. Meanwhile, in the mercenary camp, they suspected the death of the first group and decided to send another squad in search of Maria. The commander is silent about the failure of the first. In the evening, by the campfire, John asks Maria to tell him how she got here, and the girl frankly told her story. The man wondered why she did not show symptoms of the disease, to which the girl evasively replies that this is a long story. John also decides to open up to her a little and tells her about the death of his wife. Now he no longer wants Maria to leave, and allows her to stay. In gratitude, the girl timidly hugs him, but he does not push her away. This simple gesture evoked in him many memories of his beloved wife. In the morning, John and Maria begin to actively prepare for a possible invasion of mercenaries, erecting barricades near the house. The man boards up the windows and puts weapons from his hiding place in combat positions. On the same night, Maria unexpectedly declares that a cure for the virus has already been found. And despite the fact that the vaccine should belong to people, there are those who want to take possession of it for selfish purposes. After all, the one who has the vaccine can control the virus, and with it the whole of humanity. John, confused, asks the girl why she is telling him all this and gets a shocking answer: the vaccine is in Maria's blood. The girl ran away to give her to people as an atonement for her sins, and now she hopes that John will help her with this. But the dumbfounded man, realizing that he may be involved in a real bloodbath, silently leaves. The next day, watching Maria skillfully handle weapons, John asks her to tell him more about herself. So he learns that, as a teenager, the girl was hacking ATMs and committed robberies, for which she was imprisoned for 10 years. In prison, Maria contracted a virus, but miraculously survived, receiving immunity. John guessed something similar when he saw the barcode on her wrist. As part of the training, a former soldier teaches Maria to shoot, while a new squad of mercenaries is already approaching them through the forest. One of the soldiers decides to tell his comrades a story about a mighty woodcutter who lives in a hut and eats children for breakfast. But no one appreciated his joke, since the squad had already reached their destination. Sensing the approach of enemies, John leaves Maria under false pretenses and locks himself in a building next to the house. A little later, several mercenaries tried to break in, but all were immediately shot down. One soldier managed to capture the girl, but John managed to neutralize him, and then finished off the second. After the incident, Maria was confused and scared, but John warned her that there was only one road leading to the hut, and in half an hour there would be new thugs here. No one was going to leave the girl alone, as a good reward was announced for her. After a while, another large group of soldiers sets out on their way. At the same time, Maria begins to worry about whether they will be able to stop the influx of armed people, and then John shows her his arsenal of weapons, which he has been collecting for years. According to the most conservative calculations, the accumulated ammunition will last them until winter, which means that you should not worry. Later, the guys put on bulletproof vests, and John puts war paint on his face. After a while, Maria goes down to the river for water and suddenly finds herself under the gun of 7 armed men. After confirming her identity, one of the soldiers named Feldspad hurries to report to Commander Stone about the capture of the target. But John kills them one by one. Together with Maria, the commando successfully makes his way to the house, while the surviving Feldspad reports this to the commander. Enraged, Stone turns to his officers and demands that Maria be returned to him at any cost. If necessary, let the mercenaries take the hut under siege and kill the woodcutter. But the girl must be alive. In addition, Stone cannot understand why a single special forces officer acts so effectively. After a while, a new group of mercenaries reaches the target position and meets fierce resistance from John and Maria. A variety of weapons are used: machine guns, axes, pistols, and even a spear. When the confrontation ends in victory, the tired couple throws all the bodies into the mine. Stone sends a team of scouts to the hut to find out how many soldiers he has lost. However, as expected, the squad suffered the same fate as the comrades. John then goes hunting in the forest, where he is unexpectedly attacked by Feldspad. The opponents fight each other, and Maria, left alone, falls into a trap and gets wounded. Feldspad manages to neutralize John, after which he finds Maria and captures her. Together with the girl, the mercenary descends into the mine. It is there, according to Stone's idea, that it will be most convenient to take her blood. Feldspad communicates by radio with the commander and transmits his coordinates to him, unaware that John is already woken up and is heading to him. Finding a mercenary in the tunnel, John takes revenge and engages in battle with him. While the men were fighting, Stone gave the order for everyone to go to the gathering place. Meanwhile, John defeats his opponent and together with Maria hurries down into the depths of the mine. Soon Stone's fighters begin to arrive there and the chase begins. John and Maria manage to take an advantageous position, but the mercenaries throw a smoke grenade and the guys have to retreat. One of Stone's officers named Granite manages to seriously injure John and it becomes difficult for him to escape. The man hides Maria in a secluded place and asks her to keep her head down. But the girl begs him to stay with her, since she managed to fall in love and no longer wants to live without him. But John leaves anyway. Having survived several shootings, the soldier barely rises to the surface, where Stone was already waiting for him. He accuses John of betrayal and mockingly calls him an old friend. John asks if that's what relatives should be called. It turned out that they were siblings who had chosen completely different paths in life. Stone hated his brother because he was their late father's favorite. Now he was only interested in one question: where is the girl? John confidently declares that he killed her, but his brother considers him a liar and orders his guys to beat a confession out of him. Eventually, losing patience, Stone gives the order to kill his brother, but John challenges him, one-on-one, and to the last blood. At first, Stone easily beats up his wounded brother, but then, after disparaging words about his wife, John takes the initiative. Then Stone tries to shoot him, but during the struggle a misfire occurs, and the commander of the mercenaries is killed. Granite tries to kill John, but then Maria appears from the tunnel with 2 grenades and in desperation saves the life of her beloved, agreeing to go with them. John sadly watches the departing helicopter and vows to find the girl. At this time, the mercenaries rejoice and are transferred to fantasies about how much power they will now have after getting the vaccine. However, they do not know that Maria managed to leave 3 containers of her blood in John's refrigerator so that he could pass the antidote to people. Thanks for watching.